Today we're doing a head-to-head comparison between one of Fujifilm's most beloved cameras, the X-T4, and the brand new Fujifilm X-T5. We're going to see how these cameras perform head-to-head and to see what the upgrades in the X-T5 are all about. Alright, so the first thing we're going to compare head-to-head is the design on both of these cameras. Now, as you can see, the X-T4 and the X-T5 are very similar in design. However, there are a couple changes that make a pretty big difference. The first being the X-T5's brand new body. Now, at first glance, you might not look like they're different in size, but the X-T5 is definitely smaller, it's lighter and more compact than the X-T4. So the grip on the X-T5 now feels a lot more sturdier and a lot more grippier, which is awesome. One of the best things about it now, being so compact, it can be a very trusty companion camera for your travels as well, or for all-day shooting without fatigue. On top of the camera, you have the same analog dial format as you do in the X-T4. You've got an exposure compensation dial, you've got a shutter speed dial, and you've got an ISO dial as well. On the back of the camera, the design is basically the same. You've got all your menu buttons, you've got your joystick as well, and you've got your adjustment dials on the top for both cameras. In terms of the adjustment wheels on the X-T5, you do have the ability to program them through push or scroll. Now, in terms of the electronic viewfinder, both share a similar 3.7 million dot EVF, but where they differ majorly is the screen. So the X-T4 has a complete flip out screen for 180 degrees. You can use this if you are a video person or a vlogger and you need to have the camera set up on a tripod and you want to talk to the camera. It does have that handy feature. It can also be handy for group photos as well. And in comparison, the X-T5 screen has gone back to an old design from the X-T3, and that is the tilt screen. One of the biggest benefits of having a tilt screen is it's definitely more durable than the flip out screen, but it also gives you a little bit more flexibility if you're shooting in portraits. So the tilt screen, you can pull out towards you 45 degrees, and you can also pull out towards you in portrait orientation as well. Now, in terms of the side ports, both cameras are identical. You've got a remote port, you've got a microphone port, you've got a mini HDMI port, as well as a USB-C port for charging and transfer. One of the biggest upgrades though between the two is the X-T5 definitely has a much better door design. The door just flicks out and stays open, which makes it a lot easier to access than this flimsy door design in the X-T4. In terms of memory, both cameras sport a dual SD card slot, which gives you the ability to do rollover if your card runs out of storage, or you can use it as backup as well. And finally, in terms of battery, both share the same battery. So if you're upgrading from the X-T4 to the X-T5, you can utilize your MPW235 battery in the X-T5 as a spare battery. And just on battery, one of the biggest updates between the X-T5 and the X-T4 is the X-T5's lack of battery grip attachment ports. So on the X-T4, you had the ability to attach a battery grip onto it to give you longer battery life, but also increase performance and shoot using the shutter button on the battery grip as well as the adjustment dials. Now, if you are looking for a more Fujifilm professional system, head towards something like the Fujifilm X-H2 or the X-H2S, as they will give you a battery grip option. Now, the first comparison we're going to do is resolution, as the Fujifilm X-T5 sports a brand new sensor that is borrowed from the X-H2. We've got a 40.2 megapixel beer-sized CMOS sensor paired with the X Predecessor 5, which is going to give you faster readout times and the ability to process data a lot quicker. Now, comparing that to the X-T4, you only have a 26.1 megapixel sensor, so we're expecting a pretty big jump in difference in terms of resolution. We're going to be shooting out here in front of St. Mary's Cathedral. We've got a lot of flowers out. We've got a massive architectural building to shoot as well, and that should give us the detail we need to compare the resolution in both of these cameras. All right, so we're just going to do some video samples with the X-T5, as the X-T5 has a slight improvement in video over the X-T4. We've got the ability to record up to 6.2K at 30 frames per second and 4K oversampling. Mind you, when you are recording in oversampling or in 6K, it will crop in a little bit. Now, outside of 6.2K, you do have 4K up to 60 frames per second, which is similar to the X-T4, and you also have Full HD up to 240 frames per second for those super slow-mo shots. And all the samples today will be shot on 6.2K with F-Log2 enabled. All right, in terms of other major changes, we have a different ISO range in the X-T5 as well. So the X-T4, you have an ISO range of 160 to 12,800. And in the X-T5, we have a brand new base ISO of 125 up to 12,800. So this is going to give you a little bit more flexibility, especially during those really bright scenarios that you can bump it down to ISO 125. And what we're going to do is we're just going to do two shots. We're going to do one shot at base, one shot at 12,800 on both cameras, just to compare the noise performance on both. Now, in terms of walking around, you have 5-axis in-body image stabilization in the X-T5, which is similar to the X-T4, giving you up to 7 stops of image stabilization. One of the biggest differences that I find very important in the X-T5 is the autofocus system over the X-T4. Now, the X-T5, just like the sensor, also borrows the autofocus from the X-H2 system. Now, if you've seen our previous videos on the X-H2, I really love the tracking on the 425 phase detection point system. It has a lot of sophisticated tracking features, more than just face and eye, which is all you get in the X-T4. You have the ability to do vehicles, animals, and a lot more with the X-T5. And finally, for you sports and wildlife shooters, the X-T5 still sports the same 15 frames per second continuous shooting speeds as the X-T4, so you're gonna get some very fast action shooting. So overall, walking around situations, love using the camera. It's super compact, it feels really good. There's only one thing that's been triggering me a little bit, and that's beneath the ISO dial. Now, this is the same in basically every single X-T camera. You've got your ability to change your drive mode underneath the ISO dial. Now, with the X-T4 and with the X-T3 and basically all those older models, I've never had this problem where I would be changing the ISO dial and then knocking over the drive mode. So one thing that's happened a lot today is I've adjusted my ISO, it's gone to HDR or it's gone to continuous, but I don't really feel the dial moving. So if you are using X-T5 and you're out and about, just make sure that the drive mode is secured in the spot that you want it to be after you change the ISO, as you don't want to be me and get caught out multiple times. That's my only qualm. Overall, the camera is fantastic. Okay, so my final thoughts on the Fujifilm X-T5 compared to the Fujifilm X-T4. Now, what I really love about the X-T5 is, I guess, the direction they've gone in. Now that there's the X-H2, which targets at more of the professional level, there's a really nice form factor camera, a super compact, lightweight camera that has a lot of awesome photography features, has a bit of video features as well, in a, I guess, really light form factor that is easy to carry around everywhere. Carry this around all day, baby. As an enthusiast photographer, the X-T5 basically has everything I need. And now with an improved autofocus and improved sensor as well, you're gonna get higher res photos, you're gonna get faster photos, you're gonna get more reliable autofocus out of this as well. So in comparison to the X-T4, although you miss out on the battery grip attachment, you do get a plethora of upgrades that makes the X-T5 a really great camera for photography. If you have any questions on the Fujifilm X-T5, pop them in the comments below or pop into our store in George Street in Sydney, Australia. Make sure to follow us on our Facebook and Instagram to stay up to date with our latest promotions and what's going on in store. And as always, make sure to hit the like button and the subscribe button to stay up to date with our latest videos as we upload regularly.